Sweat my butt off here again in my.
Oh yeah. It's me pitting out in this shirt.
I thought that was an Oilers shirt. What is it?
Yeah, well, Gaber, my buddy that died or whatever. Of the Colby Cave. He's the one that got
The recent one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Brain aneurysm. They made like a memorial fund for him, and they're selling clothes. And,
Oh yeah.
so I bought some shirts and stuff. Yeah, pretty cool. But yeah, I mean, it is. He was an Oiler, so
Yeah, totally.
yeah, pretty sweet.
Hopefully it sold a bunch of them.
Yeah, they sound like they sold like a ton.
That's awesome.
Millions of dollars. Really cool. It was memorial fund.
There's the big man. AP, I'm asking you to start your video. Hey. Wow, you grew a beard in 2 days.
Hey, what's the ID number for this? I was gonna throw it on my iPad. I'm just on my phone here.
Hang on.
If you don't get it, that's fine.
All right. He was stalking a Tom on the last minute of the last day, and he even hit it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think you hit him a little back at more tail feathers, and
Oh,
it was a poke.
That was a long one.
man, last day in stock. That's impressive.
This is my buddy Araya that I was telling you about, Adam.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you too. Absolutely. Thanks for coming on this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Okay, so meeting ID is 861 1272 2371. Or excuse me. Yeah. No. Oh, wrong one. My bad. I got a bunch of Zooms here and I was just reading off the wrong one. 842 5825 3853.
Got it.
Yep, there you are. I'll ask that one. I think he ditched the other one though.
Oh, good.
There we go.
Perfect.
Cool. All right, I had someone. We'll get started here in about 20 seconds. Okay, yeah, people get to catch the recording. Cool. Well, Adam, thanks for hanging out with our group tonight. And I know a lot of people, several will watch this live and then several on the recording. So I appreciate you spending some time with us. And Cole, I'll have you turn your, there you go, buddy. Stop your video. But I appreciate you hanging out with us just to have a conversation about life, athletics, personal development, leadership, faith. We're just going to have a conversation. And Ryan and I are both just lucky to know a lot of great people in our lives that have been able to just impart some wisdom to the kids and the parents that have been watching these. So it's been really cool. And us, we've been the beneficiaries of a lot of wisdom. So,
Also us.
so thanks in advance. All right. To all the listeners out there, Adam is a friend of mine. Gosh, when did we meet? I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years ago.
Probably like 2012.
Yeah, so 8 years ago.
Yep.
And we just grew in our friendship. We kind of collaborated on, we were in a similar business together. So we just collaborated on things and eventually just kind of became friends. We had a lot of similar interests. We love to hunt and fish. And so we'd start to do stuff like that, and quick bonds form when you spend time in the outdoors, you know, and that's just kind of what happened with Adam and I. He's, I don't want to steal all his thunder, but I also want to pump him up a little bit because we're pretty lucky to have him. He's an incredible athlete. I'll let him share kind of his journey on the gridiron, and one of the strongest dudes I know. I've worked out with him before. I like to think I'm pretty fit, and the dude crushed me. And he's a phenomenal husband, a phenomenal father, and I'm just lucky to call him friend. So, Adam, so typically what we've been doing is just kind of having people walk us through their life journey. Just kind of take us to the beginning. You know, what was Adam's childhood like in the Paulson household? I know you have siblings, so.
Yep. So I'm one of 8, so I'm second to youngest. So growing up, my other siblings would get picked on by the older siblings, and of course I got picked on by my siblings as well. So my one brother and then my sister, actually, that was 2 years older than me, we would kind of go at it like this when we were young. And so you had to be tough. You just had to be grown up with being 1 out of 8. There's no pampering with that way. So grew up out in the country. It was hardworking. Did chores. My dad came home from, everybody got busy. You weren't sitting around, just playing video games, watching TV. That wouldn't go well with him. So we learned at a very young age work ethic, which I'm, looking back at it, so grateful for that he instilled that in us. And taking pride in, what, your property and what you own, your room, taking pride in how it looks, cleaning up after yourself, making your beds, something simple like shutting the lights off after you leave a room. I mean, he would go, crazy if the TV was left on or lights were left on. And now I'm the same way. So it's carried over into adulthood. And but great childhood. I mean, always into athletics. I first started kind of like working out. My oldest brother was big into working out, so I kind of looked up to him, of course. And I think it was 6th grade. I made my own little barbell. I had PVC pipe, and I put like 225s on each side, put bolts on the end to hold the weights in. And that's kind of where I started with working out. And I just loved it. The more I did it, the more I enjoyed it. So carried into sports, throughout, grade school. It was, pretty much everything to get involved with, flag football. Had my first major injury with flag football, believe it or not. So, most athletes, you're probably going to come across, some injury, of course, for your lifetime. But I broke my leg in 6th grade. And yeah, it's crazy. Cast up to my waist for 6 weeks and fell down the stairs with the cast on. And I mean, it was crazy, but played football. And, I could tell at a young age, that was kind of my sport I really excelled at, was football. But I still loved, playing basketball, baseball till 10th grade. And then junior and senior in high school, I got into track and field as well, which, I really enjoyed that. I wish I would have started that at a younger age, just because I did well with it, but probably not as good as I could have if I would have started younger and got the technique down. So football, did well there. Got injured again my junior year, and hopefully this maybe will resonate with some of the athletes on, but you have to learn to persevere with sports and injuries, because it can get you down. I mean, you work so hard, put the time in the weight, you put the time in the practice, to master your craft, and then an injury happens and it can really get you down. But you got to learn from it. You have to stay positive with it and find good out of any situation, and that's key. And so I had to sit out. We had 2 games left in the regular season, and then we went to playoffs, and we barely lost to the team that won state that year. I think they took us for granted, and so I was on the sidelines. I would have gave anything to play in that game. And one real quick thing on that, going through 2-a-days, I'll kind of get into that. I would hear athletes say, man, somebody was injured or something. They were sitting on the sidelines, had a pulled hammy or something. And they're like, oh, I wish that was me over there. I wouldn't have to work so hard. And I'm like, I never thought that. If you ever get injured and you're just like, man, I'd do anything to get back on that field. So that's one thing that, you never want to wish to get injured, even if it's something simple and you're sitting out even a hot 2-a-day practice, because, man, you'll miss it and you just never know if you're going to get it back. So that was high school. Graduated. My goal was to play at a big college right away. That was my goal. And it really didn't shake out that way right away. My grades probably weren't the best. So most schools, kind of were looking past me from a grade standpoint. So I ended up playing 2 years at Rochester Community College, played there. I actually had better grades during college than I ever did during than high school. So I played 2 years there, and then opportunity to go play at either I could have walked on at Iowa, that was my choice, or I got recruited to University of Sioux Falls in South Dakota. And just weighing my options, Sioux Falls was the right choice for me, and went and played there for 2 more years. Was able to win national championship by senior year there, which was awesome. We went undefeated that year, and had never won a championship at all in high school or anything. So to finish my career with that was pretty special. And and then lastly, I was able to play for Team USA over in Japan for the World Cup of American Football. Was incredible experience to be able to represent our country, and we won that as well. And just to continue to be able to play was a great opportunity. So.
Holy smokes! So you won a national championship at Sioux Falls.
Yep.
That is incredible.
Yeah.
Holy smokes! So one thing we talk about with the kids. Did you have a coach either in high school or in college, maybe that guy at Sioux Falls, that kind of you took to a little bit, or that kind of had a huge impact in your life? And what kind of a guy was he, or what were his what was he like? What kind of things did he do, say that motivated you?
Yeah, a couple different coaches. My high school coach, Harry Turk, was great. He's a well-known coach for Lees. I grew up in Leesure. Not complaining. If didn't really matter what was going on. Just you didn't need to complain. That was one big thing. Finding a way or making a way. It was just he was the guy you respected and that you didn't want to disappoint, and it just made you try that much harder. You gave it everything you had plus some. Because these coaches were putting everything they had into it, and just him and his presence and his leadership made me want to be a better player as well. So he was one in high school, and then at college, coaches by our defense coordinator was awesome. He hard-nosed guy. I mean, like barely cracked a smile, but he motivated people. His pregame speeches and stuff, and just how he carried himself as well. He would just discipline. He would put the time in. I mean, their game plans, we knew the other team way better than they even knew themselves. And it was just, them putting that time in made us want to study more, and you practice more, and just, that really, with the coaching, kind of put us over the edge as far as that senior year for sure.
Yeah, it is. It is. What were your injuries?
So broke my leg, quite a few. Broke my leg 6th grade. In my junior year, I cracked my femur on my one side. Just had it in a split, but it was you had to be careful because near the growth plate. Worried about what else? Broke my hand right here. So I was sat out 1 week. I broke my 4th metacarpal, and it's kind of a spiral fracture, so you have to be careful with it. But broke it, sat out 1 week, and then I had a cast, a club, right on my arm, whole thing here. Played, so I sat out 1 week, and then the next week I played. I had my best game pretty much ever. I think 2 interceptions, a bunch of tackles, and
With the club?
with the club.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Well,
It was great.
I've seen those mitts of yours, man. You only need one for that football. Oh, some
so I
people.
had that.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, nothing. And then I had a really bad. It was the senior year we won the national championship. I had the last game of the season. I had a really bad sprained ankle. I thought I broke my legs, knowing how that felt, but it was just a bad sprain. So sat out 1 week, and then I just taped it up and went after that. So
Oh my
Gritty. Some people, unfortunately might hear that and go, I'd love to play football, but that's a reason for me not to play football is the potential for injury. And how many memories and moments would you have missed out on had you not? And was it worth the injuries?
100% worth it. I have a young son now. I have a 19-month-old, and I'm thinking about, all right, would I want him to play? And if he wanted to, absolutely. If that was something he wanted to do, I would 100% support him, just because of the values it instills, the teamwork that is required on a football team is just, and sports are like that. There's a lot of those team sports, like hockey's like that. You got, baseball's that physical of a sport. There's just something about it where, you got to really have, that camaraderie, that teamwork there. So 100% worth it. Injuries are they're going to happen no matter what. You can get injured riding your bike. You can get injured, pretty much doing anything. There's no guarantees you're going to go through life without injuries. And so to, shortchange yourself on, gifts that you've been given and not, honor those gifts and do the best you can, if that's, what you're feeling called to do, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. There's always going to be safety things, especially with football, right? Technique's huge. So having the right coaches teaching you up, because there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. There's still something that could happen, but when you learn the right techniques, you're going to reduce your chance of injury drastically. And then also, preparing your body for whatever sport you're doing. So physically preparing, nutritionally, making sure you're putting the right stuff in your body. So there's a lot of things that will stack the deck in your favor versus going out unconditioned or, not very mobile, where injuries are going to be a higher chance.
That's one of the biggest things I always share with people too that are scared or feel fearful of their kids, getting involved with a particular sport. And it's like, if they're prepared, just like you said, like if they do those things, you said it perfectly. But it bears repeating. You're stacking the deck in your favor. So many kids go out there all bobbleheady, they can barely balance their head on their neck, right? Versus, they can't squat, maybe even their body weight yet, and then of course injuries can happen and when you do stuff like that, but that's what makes the weight room stuff that I know you're about and we're about and the nutritional stuff just so important to any sport, but certainly a contact sport.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. How old were you when you started lifting weights? When you got like the barbell in the garage? Did he say?
Sixth grade. Is that what you
Yeah.
said?
Sixth
The
grade.
homemade sixth grade. Yep. So
You
about
just
12 years
never
old.
turned back. Always been in the
Nope.
weight room. Just kind of fell in love with it.
Always in the weight room. Yeah, I always loved it. In high school, small town, the guys didn't put the time in. We were pretty much on our own. We didn't have, strength conditioning coaches like you guys. Instilling in us, how to lift properly, how to, coaching us up. It was on your own or nothing. And so we basically, I think our weight room was like the size of my room, right? Like 12 by 12 in this dungeon, no windows. It was crazy. So, never stopped. I had that, like, if I didn't work out, I was like cranky. I needed to work out. I just remember like at our football stadium running the bleachers, doing jumps, single leg jumps up the bleachers, all kinds of stuff, running hills, you name it. I had another buddy that was big into it too. So that helps having another guy with you, but, just I loved the training. That's something I miss is the training. That's why I still love it now, but, especially with the sport coming up, it just really motivated me and I love the training. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. So Brandon was telling me before we got on here about a workout you made him do in the snow.
Yeah,
Do you remember it? Tell. I
absolutely.
think it'd be cool for these kids to hear this. I thought it was awesome.
So I brought this big tractor tire home from South Dakota, and we do tire flips in the snow. I got a pretty steep incline in basically a pasture, and we'd flip it. I think we went 100 times. I'm almost positive we did 100 times each. So we went, I think, 15, 20 reps at a time, and then switch, and then we did sprints up the hill, and probably almost knee-high snow, and I forget how many I said we were going to do, and then Brandon's like, well, why don't we just cut that in half or something? I don't know what it was. It was pretty tough.
That is awesome. Tell me that story. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, but, knowing Brandon, I don't know if we had worked out before or not. I don't think so, maybe.
That may have.
Or maybe once at your place.
Yeah.
But, here's my mentality. I'm like, I need to make sure I'm not putting together a wussy workout for Brandon because he's this elite athlete. So I want to make sure I'm pushing him hard. And also I'm trying to show everything I got too, right?
Absolutely.
It's just that competition that helps you get better. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to do something I know he's probably not done. And so I got a little bit of an advantage. So
I'd say home field advantage. Adam 1, Brandon 0.
I love that story, and I was like, I got to bring that up. I got to let the kids know that story. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, but hey, you know what? There's a lesson in that. You surround yourself with people who are stronger than you, people who challenge you. If you hang around people that just accept you for who you are and don't push you to work harder, there's no growth.
Yep.
That's why I love surrounding myself with people like Coach here and Adam. They raise my game. They make me want to be my best, not just athletically, but just as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a coach. And, we may not have known we were doing that, but maybe instinctively we did, Adam and I, so speaking of that, Adam, so kind of take us through your kind of life's journey with like who you hung around. I think that's an important thing with kids. Well, I shouldn't say kids, everybody, right? Is who you hang around, and just kind of, if you can think about your stages of life, who you hung around, and kind of, what was the outcome of those things, and I think you know what I'm getting at.
Yeah, absolutely. So high school, had good group of guys hung out with. There's the good group of guys, and there's also that group that's into the drinking and they're into the partying, and they might do sports, but they weren't putting any effort into it. It was more about being cool in the popularity contest. And I'll tell you right now, I was not the most popular kid in high school by any means. I mean, there was no snow week, there was no homecoming king, none of that. I mean, it was not that popular, and that it maybe a little bit bothered you because as a kid you try to want to be fit in, but honestly I was fine with that. I was more focused on the sports, and what I had going there was more important than that. And so I never tried to put myself in any of those dangerous situations where I was tempted to maybe consume alcohol, where I knew if I got caught, man, 2 weeks of football done. And I mean, I would just never could forgive myself for that. And just to share a lesson here for all the athletes on is our summer before our senior year, one of my friends got caught drinking. He was a big time football player, and we were going to vote that fall who was the captains for the team. And when you're buddies with people, you're like, just assume that somebody's going to vote for you, right? Well, I made a stand. I'm like, I can't vote for him. I can't vote you in captain when you're putting yourself at risk, but also the team at risk by consuming. So I'm sure to this day that really still bothers him. And I'm just reminded of when you surround yourself with people that are thinking the same way you are, acting the same way you are, chances of something bad happen goes way down. And just not being susceptible to that, because it's very easy to get lured in as a high schooler to that crowd, to that, just have, a couple drinks. It's no big deal. Everybody's doing it. It's not okay, and you're not missing out. I mean, to everybody that's on there, you are not missing out. I mean, you got, the rest of your life to try that. But I tell you what, anybody that got caught 100% wishes they went to did it. And my buddy missed the first 2 weeks. Just gut wrenching. I couldn't imagine that. So it just wasn't worth it. So yeah, hanging around people that, obviously have the same values as you. Same thing with college. It was pretty good there because everybody on our team was pretty well rounded. So it was pretty easy to stay out of trouble there. But even in college, just being open, not the best, nutritional wise, would still go out and we'd have, some drink games and stuff, and didn't do it a lot, but it's still, looking back, if I can give advice, I would cut it out completely. Just 100%, just being transparent, because it's, it's not like it was a problem, but it was just that culture, where if you can cut it out, you're going to be that much better athlete. And I think we talked about that, Brandon, where I think we kind of missed out a little bit, with not giving it 100% on that end as well. So just some lessons there where, not that we were bad kids or anything like that, but, you're really trying to get the most out of, your performance. You got to have all phases working for you. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And then how about post-college?
Mm-hmm. Post-college, kind of went through, kind of the dream's over, right, for sports. So, had a chance to play in the NFL, but just didn't quite work out. Had some calls and stuff. So kind of went through a kind of woe me short phase there, but kind of got out of that, started personal training and, still surrounding myself with people I wanted to be like. So, mentors that I'm like, man, that's what I want. So I surrounded myself with mentors that had kind of the direction, things that I wanted in life. And I could see how they carried themselves, their family. So surrounding myself with people that I wanted to be like, if that makes sense. So.
Awesome. Yeah, absolutely makes sense. I feel like I was going to jump in if you count.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what you do right now. Brandon told me just a little bit. Owns a gym. That's kind of all I got. But talk a little bit about what you do now and kind of how you got into it, why you do it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So, going to college, I really didn't. I mean, I had an idea kind of what I wanted to do, but it wasn't until I got to, really Sioux Falls where I dialed it in. I'm like, I want to make sure whatever I do for a career path, I enjoy every bit. I never want a day to go by where I wake up and the alarm clock goes off and I'm like, man, I do not feel like going to work today.
Yeah.
I told myself that. I'm like, I don't care what the financial stuff will come. If I'm really doing what I'm supposed to do, that will come. So that's what really directed me into the fitness industry I love working out and, I like people. So I'm like, I'll start doing my own training and that really transpired. And I worked at a gym for about 12 years now, kind of on my own, and just helping people get better. And, success is just realizing your full potential. So that's different for everybody. But just helping people realize their full potential, and it's a process. And it's, your maximum sustainable effort over time, because anybody can give effort, for 1 week max all out, those New Year's resolutions people, but what can you do sustainable over a long period of time is, what it's all about. So, for the athletes, it's hard work, but it's that sometimes that delayed gratification where you're putting time in, workout, and all of a sudden, man, now you can see the results. So, short-term gratification, which, anybody can go do that on any given weekend, right? Living for the weekend, but that's not going to give you that fulfillment and that long-term gratification. So
that's really good.
That's awesome.
That's really good. Especially amongst
wisdom.
Just a lot of the kids that we're coaching and training. Interesting times, of course, although there seems to be normalizing a little bit, but they just, I think a lot of people in general just discount the power of that compounding effect of and with respect to training, right? It's like, we have a pretty popular summer program that's building, and it's like the power of 90 days, right? And it's not just about the 90 days, it's about way beyond the 90 days, but the growth that can happen in 90 consistent days, it's just amazing. And then within that time frame, you just hope to establish some habits that stick for the rest of your life, right? And that's what it's done for you, right? I mean, you started lifting when you were in 6th grade, so 12 years old, 13-ish years old. I remember doing the same thing. I didn't have weights, but I lifted a magazine rack. Like I had a magazine rack where I would do magazine rack curls, and I would do calf raises on my stairs, push-ups, sit-ups, because I'd watch a Rocky movie, and man, I got inspired, and then Dad finally bought me a Sandfield weight.
Me too.
And but I was telling Araya, I was bragging on you a little bit, just number one, what awesome dude you are, but like, the dude's a strong human being, but that didn't happen in 90 days. That's been a compounding effect of 20 years, and the benefits of that have served you well. I mean, from recovering from injuries quickly, to performance, to confidence, probably had something to do with landing the woman of your dreams, Who knows?
Going through life is it's way more fun being fit than unfit. I mean, you can go walk around majority of the population is out of shape. And, you realize what happens for people is there's always a cost, right? To get where you want to be. And you have to count the cost, right? If you want to be a top-notch athlete, or even, a very good high school athlete, you have to count the cost. There is a lot of work involved. There's a lot of sacrifice that's involved. And what happens, people are like, oh yeah, I want that. Yeah, I want to be varsity. I want to be, make all state. I want to go, Division I. So there's this big cost, right, that has to be paid. And what people realize is, get into it is, oh, that's a lot of work. I'll just settle for a little bit less. Maybe I'll just, I'm just fine if I make the team, or if I just, play a couple downs. I really don't need to work out on Saturday morning, sleep in instead. So they start counting the cost, and unfortunately for, quite a few people, they just keep settling for less and less life because they're not willing to pay the price. And it's unfortunate. So you got to be willing to pay the price, and you got to count the cost before you get into something. And I learned very young, and learned, from my dad, and then through everybody else, whatever you say you're going to do, you do. There's no quitting. So if you're going to go out for the team, there's no quitting, because 2 days are here and it's, 90, 100 degrees out. I mean, if you commit to it, that's end of story. There is nothing getting you out of it. You're sticking it through whether you like it or not. And it's that kind of mindset that will carry you through life as well, because unfortunately today there is a lot of entitlement out there. It's a lot of, something for nothing. Should be granted with, everything easy in life. So it's not going to happen. Life is hard. Life isn't fair. It's not fair to everybody. It'll beat you down if you let it. All right. But you can learn from every experience and grow stronger from that. And it's just, that's why sports and athletes it's so crucial, because you have to learn that sacrifices and be willing to put the work in. That will carry through everything in life. When finances get hard, how are you going to get through that? When, there's just a family tragedy, anything that happens, you have the ability now to be able to handle that. Whereas before that, most people just lay down, unfortunately.
That's one of the best.
Oh my Lord.
That's one of the best.
I think I'm going to go back and record what you just said right there. Is the wisdom in that is exponential. I mean, I got the goosebumps a little bit. I might go back and just record that and make sure that every kid that comes into my gym tomorrow and the next day, and every kid that I have on the No Athlete Left Behind hears exactly what you just said. The cost, you know, what are you willing to pay? Are you willing to pay the price? That's a great way to look at it. You know, there's no cutting corners. There's no, here's the cost. Here's what you got to pay. That's it.
Yep.
You know, there's.
Thanks for not sugarcoating that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the raw, honest truth, and people need to hear that because it's that does frequent our society, and you know, and one thing that was coming to mind when you were talking about that is whether you are a great athlete or not, that really doesn't matter. I mean, that's an outcome that's not always something you can control, but your effort, your attitude, those things you can't control. You can maximize whatever God gave you athletically and learn all those lessons to carry on in life. It's not necessarily about making it to the big leagues in whatever sport you're playing, but it's about maximizing what you left it all out there. And then in life, it's a great equalizer, right? When, you know, at some point the sports are gone, and then guess what? It's a level playing field. And if you have those lessons, well, I guess it's not level anymore. You know, like you got that card,
Absolutely.
you got that deck stacked again, right?
Yep. And that's why, I mean, every athlete on here is just, I mean, they're so blessed to have you guys, you know, in pouring into them, because, you know, tell everybody that's on here, I mean, not everybody has that. That is not a given. In most high schools and most young athletes, they don't have the leadership, the mentorship, especially the skill level that you two have, making sure they're doing the right programs and making, you know, but just speaking life into them. And I would just encourage everybody, like, your words have power. So, you know, what you're speaking, all right, is what you're going to have. So if you're not speaking life, you're speaking death. So you got to make sure you're speaking life over, you know, yourself. So every workout, hey, this is going to be the best workout I've ever had, best practice I've ever had, and making sure that every practice workout, I mean, you are absolutely giving it everything you have, because you'll regret it. You'll regret if you, like, just, you know, so that, you know, can't really say, but half it for, you know, the workouts and for the practices. I'm telling you, it's just, you won't regret laying it all out every practice. I mean, I would give anything right now, just go one more practice at college or anything, and, you know, be able to just be out there. And, you know, given that last little bit of effort will separate you. You might not have the best talent. There might be guys way more talented than you. But if you have that mentality where I'm giving it all out, where other people with more talent you'll catch up to them, and you'll get noticed a lot more too. Tell you what, coaches like a hardworking, hard athlete, smart athlete, probably a lot more than the talented athlete, because those are the ones they're going to be able to count on.
Absolutely.
Ryan tells me all the time about these guys we played with at the highest in the NHL, and you know, they were not the most gifted. You know, they weren't the fastest, they weren't the best puck handlers, but they were wise, and they were, you know, they knew their role, and they did it very well, you know, and I can say the same for about baseball players at the highest level. I didn't play there, I coached there, but I could say the same thing. Now, not the most gifted athletes make it there, but it's the ones that do the little things. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's some gifted guys that are there, but there's way more guys that aren't, that are just the grinders, right? Make it. And unfortunately, I you know, that's a hard lesson I had to learn.
Well, you just think about, you know, everybody kind of knows the story, but one of the greatest athletes, Michael Jordan, got cut, what was it, sophomore year or something that was like that in high school? He got cut from the team, you know, and that just shows you, he's like, no, he wasn't going to settle for that. So he worked his tail off, and then became one of the best players ever. So
Yeah. Well, let's switch gears. See where this takes us. So I know you got a strong faith, Adam. One of the things I love about you most, and just kind of take us through your journey, you know, with faith. That's just one area we explore with all of our athletes too, just to expose them to that. 'Cause it's, I mean, look at our world, right?
yeah,
we live in a pandemic world. There's rioting. There's all these different social issues. There's all these, and it's really interesting and fascinating times, to put it lightly. And so, man, if there's evil in the world, there's good in the world, you know, so kind of share that, your faith story with us.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, faith is the substance of things hoped for, evidence not seen. So if you can see it, it's not faith. So before I should, you know, just like our football season, we had faith, you know, that we could win the national championship. We had faith that we could do it. We didn't obviously we didn't, you know, see that. We had to have faith the whole season that was going to happen, right? Because we hadn't physically seen it yet. So for me, you know, having that definition of faith, you know, growing up, I grew up in religion. You know, as a kid, your parents tell you to go to church. You know, you just did it because they told you to. There was no getting out of it. You know, my dad was a former Marine, so if he said you're going, you're going. So I guess I left that part out too. He's a former Marine, so when he told me to do a chore, he meant now, not get to it. So I think that's another good lesson. Like, if your parents tell you to do something, you do it right away. Don't say, I'll get to it later, or yeah, in a minute. So, but anyways, grew up in religion, you know, was church on every Sunday. College, still attended church, you know, every so often, but never really had that personal relationship with God. It was, you know, I always believed in him, but it was nothing, I guess, just that really was solid here. You know, it was nothing, because my lifestyle, even though I was quote unquote good person, you know, wasn't breaking the law or anything, I you know, morally just was not a good, you know, good person. If that's the easiest way to say it, you know, again, I was still nice to people, still helping people, but hopefully that makes sense. It's just morally, I wasn't doing the right things. I wasn't always treating people, you know, the best. And so, you know, it wasn't until I started attending, you know, men's group and got around, you know, strong men of faith and started studying the word and seeing what God, you know, says about me, who I am in Christ. It changed everything, because I saw myself differently. My identity now was in Christ. It wasn't in the world. It wasn't in football. It wasn't in, you know, how much money I had. It was nothing. It was who God said I was. And so once you know your identity, then you can walk out life a lot. I mean, you walk out life, clear vision, 2020. You know, you're not clouded by what the world's trying to throw at you. And, you know, look at everybody, you know, we're talking about athletes, but, you know, for most people, sports is an idol, right? You know, it's what they live for. You know, love sports, live for sport. It's great, but that cannot be an idol for people, because it will let you down every single time. You'll get older, sport goes away. You get injured, sport goes away. And then you see people that just live for, you know, living for the Vikings or whatever. They're living for a sports team that could care less probably about their, you know, the fan that's watching them. And so if you're making that an idol, it's going to let you down every time. And for me, I started learning the word of God, who he said I was. So I got my identity down. But then I just gave my life over to him, and it just completely opened my eyes, opened my heart. So I started living differently. I mean, I started treating people how Jesus treated people. And it just changes. It changes how you conduct yourself, you know, relationship wise, business wise, I mean, everything. It just completely transformed me, and it gave me a peace beyond all understanding. There was always something missing, and I tried to fill, you know, there was always a void here, and I would try to fill it with everything, you know, and that's, you know, you name it, whether it's entertainment, whether it's hunting and stuff, you know, just trying to fill it and fill that void, partying, you know, filling it, nothing would fill it, you know. Bad relationships, all that stuff, it would not fill that void until I gave my life over to the Lord, and it completely just filled it, that peace. And now I just want more of it every day. You know, I'm just craving more of what God has for me, and letting him order my steps. You know, a man plans his course, but the Lord orders his steps. And it's amazing where God will take you. And I look back at my whole life and sport career and where I went to college and who through those choices, the people I met Brandon through the choices I made, where if I went another route, a lot of those relationships I would not have had. And so, it's just amazing. God's plans are way better than our plans. And so, you may have a sports injury that threw you off a whole career, but God has something different for you. And there's a lot of stories, people you can look up, that thought their life was over after sports, but honestly, it was just starting. God had something way bigger planned for them that was going to make a bigger impact, because it's, as an athlete, sometimes we can get, real self-centered, right? And it's a lot about us. Even if you're on a team, you still want to do, it's still on yourself. So when you have that faith piece to it, it's no longer about me now. It's about serving others. So
I gotta meet this guy.
He's good, dude.
I'm so locked in right now. We're reading a book to the kids, The Carpenter. I'm not sure if you've read it. If you haven't, you should. But it's built on 3 basic principles of love, serve, and to care. And Brandon talked a little bit about him just shooting you a text today, and yep, I think that says a lot about you as a person and how you live your life. So I just want to say thank you, for being that way and serving us, and to care enough to come on here and share your story, which is unbelievable. Sharing that not only with us, but the kids as well. So
Yeah.
thank you.
Well,
Well,
happy doing it. It's more blessed to give it is to receive. So, pouring into athletes, because I've been through that, I've been in their shoes as you guys have, and we only wish that we had people pouring into us like you guys are to them now. So it's my pleasure, and definitely appreciate you guys having me on. So
love you, AP. Thanks a lot, buddy. I know somebody's life
Yeah.
somebody's lives will be impacted tonight, and
Absolutely.
well, I know 2.
Yeah, right.
But I know there's some watching that'll be impacted. So thanks a lot, buddy. Get back to your lovely wife and Riggs. He's probably already sleeping, but
he's in terror mode now. All out tackle time right now.
Right.
That's awesome.
All right, brother. Thanks for being on.
Love you.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
Take care, guys. See ya.
You too.